Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Walaikum assalam. Okay, we can start. So anyone have any queries on the previous lecture? We can discuss.
Sir, I have a question. Could you please explain what's a MPC?
MPC.
Yes, sir. It would be really nice if you could explain the disposable income ones.
Basically very simple thing. এটা আসলে বোঝাচ্ছে তোমার ইনকাম যদি বাড়ে, at the same time your expense also increase, your savings also increase. So if your income is increase $1, then how much your savings increase or how much your expense increase. In proportionately যে পরিমাণ বাড়বে সেটাই হচ্ছে তোমার এমপিসি বা সেভিংস বলি আমরা যেটা বলি। ঠিক আছে?
Yes, sir. The disposable income এটা থেকে মানে ম্যাথস গুলো যে একটা এক্সাম্পল দেখিয়েছিলেন ওরকমই থাকবে?
হ্যাঁ, same, exactly same, similar thing. You just need to know the concept. The maths আগের মতোই থাকবে একই রকম। So let's start today's class. I think the recording function is working, so we can start recording from today's class. So I'm recording the lecture. Hopefully it will work. So can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The new topic, actually it is the piecewise linear function. So it refers to the page number 42 from the book. Piecewise linear functions. Sometimes an equation will consist of more than one section or piece, each of which is linear. Because you have two different functions representing one equation. In that case, we will call this as a piecewise linear functions. For example, shown in this here, y equals to x. When the value of x is equals or less than 0, this condition. If this is the condition, then we can write y equals to x. And there is another thing, if the value of x is greater than 0, then the equation is y equals to 2x. So these two uh, section we can combine is one equation. So y equals to x, this condition, y equals to 2x, this condition. In this case, this one was termed as a piecewise function. So this function actually describes it composed of two linear pieces. That means y equals to x, one equation, one linear function, y equals to 2x, another linear function. So we can combine these two functions in one equation. But each of has different conditions. If there is the value x which is less than 0 or equal to 0, then we can write y equals to x. If the value of x greater than 0, then we can write y equals to 2x. There can be another example. Similarly, we can write if the value x is less than 2, then we can write the situation y equals to x plus 1. If the value of x greater than 2, then we can write the equation is y equals to x minus 1. So these two conditions, two functions, we can combine in one equation, y equals to x plus 1 for this condition and y equals to x minus 1 for this condition. So this is called piecewise functions, and we have sometimes different kind of problems, different kind of conditions for this piecewise function. We will see some problem for this. For example, there is a problem. Example, Boston Gas Company charges its customers according to their usage of gas as follows. A $6.70 customer charge. This is the fixed. And $0.7376 per therm for the first 160 therms. So therm is a unit of gas. So they will charge per therm is $0.7376 per therm. But when until 160 therms, first 160 therms, they will charge this rate. If your consumption increase more than 160, if consumption increase over 160, then you charge change to 0.68 per therm. So this is the condition actually. So you have a fixed cost here, fixed price you have to pay. Then this limit until 160 therm, you need to pay 0.7376 per therm, and you exceed your usage over 160, then the charge is 0.68 per therm. So this is the situation given. So from this condition, we need to find that A, determine the cost function and draw its graph. This we need to uh, write the cost function similarly, similar type. That means in y in terms of x, but there will be two functions because there are two conditions here. So piecewise, so similar thing. Then we need to draw a graph. Then second part, what is the charge for using 120 terms? So there is a condition given, the first 160 terms you are paying 0.7376 per term. That you have given one condition, and if you use 160 term, what is your charge? And what is the charge for using 200 terms? Another condition, if you use 200 terms, what will be your charge? Then the next question, how many terms were used if the charge is $355? That means your total charge is this one. Then you need to calculate actually how much term actually you used for this amount of charge. This amount of charge. So this is the situation. So let me go back to our slide and see. Can you see the PowerPoint slide?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is the problem actually. So Boston Gas Company charges its customer according to their usage of gas as follows. There are $6.7 fixed charge plus 7376 cents per therm for 160 therms, and you are over 160 therm, then you are paying different charge, different rate. Determine the cost function. So based on this situation, on this scenario, we need to find the cost function. The cost function should have two things. That means it should be a piecewise function, piecewise linear functions. That means something in this format. So you have two different functions in one equation, piecewise function, and we need to draw a graph. Then from this cost function, we can find out what will be the charge if you are using 160 terms, or if you are using 200 terms, what will be your charge, and if your total charge is this one, you need to calculate how much was the term, how many term. Is it clear? The question is clear to you? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So we can now try to solve it. So let x, assume x is the number of term. Assume that x is the number of term and y is the cost. Y represents the cost function. So according to the condition given, first part of the cost function actually for using 160 terms. So this is the first part of the condition. For this 160 terms, you are charging 7376 cents per therm plus a fixed charge. So this will be your cost function. let's say if we think that it is the first portion, so we consider it as a y1, maybe one portion y1 equals to 0.7376x plus 6.71. So for this cost function, what is the condition? The value of x is how much? First 160 terms. So the value of x cannot exceed 160. So the value of x should be 0 to 160. That means for the first 160 units, this will be your cost function. Is this clear?
Sir, can you please scroll up so that I can see the question? It would be easy for me to understand.
Which one?
Sir, can you scroll up? I want to see the question again.
Okay, this is the question. This is the question.
Okay, so for the first 160 terms, we are considering 6.71 and 0.7376, which will be
Per
considered
term.
per term. Okay, got it. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So from this first condition, we can have the cost function.
Sir, for first condition, M1 is 0.73. I mean, variable cost is 0.736 and fixed
Yes.
cost will be 6.71, right?
Yes. Correct.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So from the first portion, we can get this is our cost function. Y1 equals to 0.7376x plus 6.71. And the condition is your usage should be 160. It cannot exceed more. So if you use 160, let's say your uses of 160 term, so what will be your cost? So you can put the value of x equals to 160 here, right? Then we can get total cost is 124.726 for 160 terms. So we find out this one, that now the cost of the first 160 terms. So if you use 160 terms, your cost will be this one. Okay. Then for the second piecewise function, if you exceed 160 terms, then your rate also change. So you have to pay 68 cents per term for each term over 160. Each term over 160. So using this condition, we write the function. The second part of the cost function for the use of more than 160 terms. Then you can write the equation as y2, that means for second condition, equals to fixed price here, because you are using more than 160. So for 160 units, you have to pay this much. So this will be your fixed price, fixed portion, plus additional per term you need to pay. So you need to calculate how many terms you are using over 160. That means x, if x is number of term over 160, so over 160 you are paying x minus 160, and per term is this one. So you are paying total per term into how many term you are using over 160, plus 160 term how much you are paying. So that will be your total charge, total cost function. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Uh, so you have to make sure that you write properly, clearly. So in this case, the condition is given for the change of the unit of the charge if you exceed 160. So that means you're assuming that in that condition you are using maybe 170. So if you use 170 therm, for the first 160 therm you have to pay this much. Then the balance 10 therm, 10 therm means the x এর value হচ্ছে 170 minus 160, that means 10 therm here. For the next balance 10 therm you are paying different rate, and once you total it you will get the second function. Then you can simplify. So you can multiply 0.68 into x, then multiply 0.68 into 160, plus do the addition with 124.76. So this will be my cost function after simplification. But the condition is it should be more than 160, more than 160 therms. So we are getting two different cost function, piecewise function. One is if u uses is less than 160, then cost function is y equals to 0.7376x plus 6.71. And if your uses is more than 160, then you are getting this function.
Sir,
Hmm.
124.726, is it marginal cost?
Yes, for the 160, for the 106 first 160, you have to pay.
Got it.
Then for the exceeding term, you have to pay the different charge.
So if the number of terms will increase, it will be more than the given number, তখন আমরা marginal cost use করব to determine total cost.
Yes.
Okay.
So now we need to construct the total cost function. That means we need to combine. So putting equations one together, we get the required cost function for these two different conditions. For 160 term, this is be the function. For exceeding 160 term, this would be the function. So this will be actually our required cost function.
Sir,
Okay.
do we
Yeah.
have to show this line, the line where we showed y2 is equal to 124.726, or we can skip it? We can directly write down the equation.
You can directly write down, but for the initial case, you need to do the calculation so that you can remember this, how this is actually working.
Got it.
But if you can skip this one, no problem, as long as you know. If you do not practice, maybe you will forget it. So then next part, we need to draw the graph. It asks us to determine the cost function and draw its graph graphically. So we try to draw this function. So x-axis is the term and y-axis should be the cost. So we try to draw, should be something like this. X-axis is a term, number of term, and y-axis is the cost. So we divide our axis 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 And also similarly, y-axis also we divide 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. This is the dollars, and this is the number of thumb. So we know the first 160, how much we are paying. For first 160, we are paying $124, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So if the value of x equals to 160, the value of y equals to 124.
24.
So we know the points actually from this. If the value of x equals to 160, maybe somewhere here, value of y will be 124 somewhere here. So we can get the first point. This is the first point. So we can connect from the 0 to first point, this point. We can connect it. And for the next one, we need to calculate from here. We need to calculate from here. Maybe you can see, okay, if you are using 500, if your thumb maybe 500. So from this second equation, if you use 500, x value if 500, then you can get the total value of y. So you can find maybe total value of y is something somewhere here, 300 something. Then you get this point. Then you connect this point. So you get two different line actually to connecting, different rate. This is your graph. You can see the rate is different actually. You can stop two different slope actually in this line because you are using two different cost functions.
Yes, sir.
So by this way, we can draw the graph. So once you know the function, we can able to draw the graph.
স্যার
Yes,
স্যার আমরা x এর ভ্যালু 500 কিভাবে নিলাম?
arbitrary. You just maybe you can write 400 also. If let's say you are using 400 thumb, what will be your cost? From this function, you can write down, right? What will be your cost?
Yes, sir.
So if you know your x value is 400, then you know why your y value how much? Maybe 300 something. If it's 300 something, then you can get this point. If you have this point, then you can draw it.
Okay, sir.
মেনলি আমার ফার্স্ট পার্টের পয়েন্টস গুলো ম্যাটার করবে, পরের যে পয়েন্টস গুলো ওগুলো আমি গেসে নিব।
And yes, now also you can try. Okay, now you can calculate. If you use 400, you can calculate from here how much is the y. Now do a quick calculation. Y এর ভ্যালুটা বের করো এখান থেকে। If x এর ভ্যালু হচ্ছে 100, কত হয় দেখো। Just quickly do a calculation. কত হবে তাহলে? বের করো। What is the value of y?
287.926. 287.926.
287.9, somewhere here.
287.
Maybe somewhere here, right? 287
Yes.
means somewhere here. So we can get this point. Maybe this will be the point. So it's okay. So you know this point, then you connect it, this point and this point. So in this second part, you don't have many points. Maybe you just arbitrary take one point. You get one point, then you connect it. That's all.
Got it. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So our first part of the question solve, we can determine the cost function. We can determine the graph, draw the graph. So second part is saying that what is the total and average charge for using 120 thumbs. So if you use 120 thumbs, what is your total charge? You can find it. Let's find it first. Here. So if the customer uses 120 thumbs, so which function should we use? First function.
one.
First one is because it is less than 160. So the first piece of equation is here. Y1 equals to 0.737 7376x plus 1. So here we put the value of x equals to 120. Then we can get the total cost. So total cost is $95 if we use 120 thumbs. So this is my total cost.
Yes, sir.
Then it asks us to find the average cost. So average cost is total cost divided by number of thumb. Number of thumb 120. So is average cost is 0.79 per thumb. So this is my average cost. If I use 120 thumbs. So if I use 120 thumbs, it falls the condition in the first equation. So using that equation, we can put the value of x equals to 120. Then we can get the value of y. That means the total cost. Once you know the total cost, divide it with the number of thumb. Then you get the average charge per thumb. So our per thumb will be 0.7935 dollar per thumb. So this is the part B of the question. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's see the part C. So what is the total and average charge for using 200 thumbs?
We will be using
Yes, sir.
condition.
So we will be using second equation, right?
Yeah.
So it is
Yes,
more
sir.
than
Yes, sir.
160. So let's see. So we'll be using second equation, y2 equals to 0.68 plus 15.926. So we put the value of x equals to 200 here. Then we can get the total cost of 200 thumbs, that is $151.96. This will be our total cost if we use 200 thumbs. So what will be the average charge?
Divide by 200.
Divide by 200. Very simple. So you can get the average charge is this one. Average charge is this one. So our part C also we can easily calculate this way. We just need to look through that which equation should I use. So you need to see the limit of the term, which one is using. If you use below 160, you need to use equation 1. If you use above 160 terms, then you need to use equation 2, second function. Now, for the last part, it asks us how many terms are used when the total charge is $355. So it asks us if the total charge is $355. In that case, what was your number of thumb? So how we can find it? Which equation should we use in this case?
Second.
How do you know?
Second.
Sir, because we have found the cost of 160 therms. It is less than 355.
Yes, correct. So in this case, actually we know if we use 160 thumb, we pay $124. So you are using here 355, right? It's more than $150, $124. That means definitely we used more than 160 thumbs. So
Yes,
if we use more than 160 thumb, the cost function is second one. Yeah. So we use this cost function to calculate the x, which is number of thumbs. Let's see. So if the charge is $355, the customer must have used more than 160 thumbs, because if he used 160 thumb, the total cost is 120. So this is more than C55 is more than this. That means he used more than 160 thumbs. So the cost function is second function. Second function is y2 equals to 0.68x plus 15.926. This is the second function. So if on this second function, the cost we know that 355.93. So we need to find out what is the value of x. So we write this equation 355.93 equals to 15.926 plus 0.68x. So from this equation, we have to find the value of x. What is the value? So x equals to, this one you keep one side, this one you put another side, 355.93 minus 15.926 minus 15.926 divided by 0.68. Then you will get, you will actually use 500 thumbs. Value of x equals to 500. So that is should be our answer of part D. It is clear.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's do one more problem. This one. Page 44. So in page 44, not 44, page 45. This is the problem. Page 45. Can you see?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So Boston, you read the question. Read the question. It's similar problem. You can see. Read the question and see. Similar problem. So this company actually charging its customers according to their usage. So one rate it charges basic monthly charge. That means this is the fixed cost. Then this is the variable cost per kilowatt hour for first 350 kilowatt. The charge is at the dollar in this cents per kilowatt hour. And if we exceed 350 kilowatt hour, there is charge also different, 5.63 cents. Determine the cost function and draw its graph. What are the total and average charges for using 200 kilowatt? What are the total and average charges for using 400 kilowatt? How many kilowatt were used if the total charge is 51? Okay, clear the question?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's almost similar. So let's go back to our slide and see. Almost similar problem. So this is here it is. Boston Edison Company charges its customers according to their uses of electricity. One rate, it charges a particular class of user as follows. Basic monthly charge $3.35 is fixed. Then on top of that, variable cost for 350 kilowatt hour, this rate. And if you exceed 350 kilowatt hour, this rate. Determine the cost function and draw its graph. What are the total and average charges for using 200 kilowatt hour? And what are the total and average charges for using 400 kilowatt hours? How many kilowatt hour were used if the total charges is $51.80? So let's try to solve this. Similar problem. So let's assume that X represents the number of kilowatt hour and Y represents the cost function. Assume it. And the first part of the cost function should be for the uses of 350 kilowatt hours. And we can easily write down that this should be, this is the fixed amount, monthly charge, plus per kilowatt hour charge multiplied by X number of kilowatt hour. So this is valid for this condition. That means value of X is should be less than or equal to 350. Then this will be our cost function. Clear?
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if we use 350 kilowatt hour, what will be our charge? We can find from here X equals to 350. So you put the value of X equals to 350, then you will getting $15.18 if you use 350 kilowatt hour. And this amount will be the fixed charge for second piece of equation. So this is the fixed for second function, because second function is you're exceeding 350. So up to 350 you have to pay this much. Then if we exceed 350 kilowatt hour, per kilowatt hour you are charging differently, this much. So how many kilowatt hour you using? X minus 350. Then we can simplify. We multiply this with X and multiply this with 350, then you can get, this is your cost function for the second case for more than 350 kilowatt hour. So your condition is X is greater than 350. So combining equation 1 and equation 2, actually we can get our required cost function. So this is our required cost function. Y equals to, this is for first part, Y equals to this one for second part. So this is the total cost function.
Sir, can you please explain the second part again?
Second part,
Yes, sir. Why did we get minus 4.739?
you multiply this one, 0.5634 multiplied by X minus 350 multiply by this number
Oh, got it, sir. Thank you.
plus with this $15. Then you can get total is this one. Okay. So
Yes, sir.
first question, first part is done. Determine the cost function and draw its graph. So let's draw the graph. And you need to draw the graph. So I'll ask you to draw the graph and submit to me now. So in a piece of paper, you draw the graph similarly. You write x-axis, y-axis. Y-axis is the cost, x-axis is the number of kilowatt hour. Then from these two equations, you can draw the graph. And email to me now. Everyone, please do this. This is your class performance. Write your name, student ID, today's date, class section on top of the sheet. Then you take picture. Then email to me. So first point you can get until 350 kilowatt hour. Next point you will get anything above 350. Then you
So
are
we
getting
will
2 point.
just draw the graphs.
Yeah, you need to draw the graph and show the points, coordinates of the points in the graph. First point, second point.
Sir, I forgot x-axis এ কি হবে?
X-axis হচ্ছে number of kilowatt hour, আর y-axis is the cost. You have to write your student ID and your name, today's date, and your section, section 1, business 202, section 1. Then you take photo, then email to me.
Can I see the question?
This is the question. You mean the
Sir, the actual one.
this is the one.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sir, I have a query.
Yes.
Sir, if a customer doesn't use any electricity, then he is bound to pay 3.35.
Yes.
So if I take 0 in the x-axis, it should be 3.35 in the y-axis. Am I correct?
Yeah, you can do this.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Mm. So anyone submitted?
Yes, sir. Submitted.
Okay. So we can continue now. Second portion. Have everyone submitted? Or you still
No, sir.
why?
No, sir.
It should not take 1 minute of time to draw a graph. Please quickly submit, otherwise we cannot continue the class. We'll give you 1 minute time, then we'll continue the class. Okay, let's continue. Second part, uh, question B, it's saying that if a customer uses 200 kilowatt, what will be his total charge? So you have to use the first part of the function because it's less than 350. So you have to use the first part of the function. That means y1 equals to 0.338x plus 3.35. So in that case, value of x equals to 200. You put the value of x equals to 200. Then total cost will be $10. So average cost will be $10 divided by number of unit. That means 200. So you're getting 0.055 per kilowatt hour. So this is your answer. You will get on average 0.05 per kilowatt hour if the customer using 200 kilowatt hour. This is quite exactly similar with the last problem. Okay. Can you see the slide?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now try to solve the next one. For next one is to calculate if the customer use 400 kilowatt hour. So we need to use the second function because it is over 350. Over 350. So second function is this one. And we have to put the value of x equals to 400 here. Then we can get total cost is $17.99. So if we can divide this with number with x, that means 400, then we can get the cost per kilowatt hour. So our part C also done. We can do similar way. You have to find total cost divided by kilowatt hour, means you are using 400 kilowatt hour, then you will get $0.045 per kilowatt hour. So, Now, the next part is saying that if customer's charge is $51.80, then what was his usage? How many kilowatt hour he was using? So in that case, 51.8 dollars. That means which is how much? More than $15.
Wait,
So what equation should I use?
second one.
Second one. Yeah. So we should use the second equation. So similarly, this is my second equation. Value of Y2, that means cost is $51. $51, we put the $51 here, equals to 0.0563x minus 4.539. So from this equation, we can rearrange, we can get the value of x equals to 999, almost 1000 kilowatt hour. And this is the last part of the question. Okay. So this problem we already solved it. Exactly similar problem with first one. So let's do one more problem and see. Next problem is page 48. This is the one. Can you see the slide?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think this is the one. So Colonial Gas Company charges its customer according to their usage of gas as follows. $6 is customer charge, so that is the fixed cost, and $1.80 per unit for first 200 unit, first 20 units, and 0.806 per unit for over 20 units. Determine the cost function and draw the graph. What are the total and average charges for using 15 units? For using 50 units, and how many units were used if the total charge is 73? So this is also exactly similar problem. Let's go back to the slide. Exactly similar problem. This is the problem. Colonial Gas Company charges its customers according to their uses. $6 customer charge, $1.18 for first 20 units, and 0.806 over 20 units. So we need to find the cost function and draw the graph, and you need to find the total and average cost if you use 15 units. If you use 50 units, what will be total cost? average cost, and how many units are used if the total number is 73. So exactly similar problem. We'll just quickly see. First, let's x is the number of units and y is the cost function. So for the first part, our equation should be y1 equals to, this is a fixed price, fixed amount, 6 plus 1.18x, and the limit of x is less than
Mm,
equal
less
to
than
20, right? So our first one
yes.
done. And now if we use 20 units, so what would be our cost? We put the value of x equals to 20 here. This is our cost, 20 units. Now if the customer is using more than 20 units, then our second equation comes. So this much is the fixed price for the second unit, 29.26, plus the rate we changed, 0.86, and number of units over 20, how much? So x minus 20. Then we can multiply it, simplify, we get the equation. This is our second cost function. And condition is x should be over 20. X should be over 20. So equation 1, equation 2, we can combine to get the total cost function. So we can combine one together and we get the total cost function is this one. And we can draw the graph from here. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The next part, if customer use 15 units, that means from first equation we get x equals to 15. Then this will be his total amount, and we divide by 15. That means he will get this average cost, average. Similarly, now if the customer is using 50 units, 50, then we have to use second equation, and you divide this with 50, you will get the average price. Similarly, now if the charge is 73 units, $73, so which equation should we use?
Second one.
Second one. So you go for second one, and we can get the value of x equals to 75 units. So the value of x will be 75 units. So this is the part D, solve the question. Exactly similar problem. Okay, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then we go for next. Problem 21. So Com Electric charges its customers according to their usage of electricity. One rate it charges commercial users as follows: monthly customer charge of $6, and this much per kilowatt hour for the first, this one, and this much energy charge per kilowatt hour in excess of this one, and this much is conservation charge per kilowatt hour. So determine what is the cost function. Then you have to draw the graph. What is the total and average charge for 2,000 kilowatt hour? What will be the cost and average for 4,000 kilowatt hour? And how many kilowatt hour used if the charge is this one? So this is also quite similar problem. This is a problem, and you have to submit by tomorrow. This is your homework. Solve at your home and
So you're
submit.
going to upload this slide, right?
Yes, I will upload it. And you need to submit by tomorrow latest.
Sir, I have a question.
Hmm.
So, sir, I was facing a problem. Last day আমি আপনার কাছে CW সাবমিট করেছিলাম and it showed that mail sent হয়েছিল। আজকে যখন CW সাবমিট করতে গিয়েছি আজকেও প্রবলেম হচ্ছিল, মেল সেন্ড হচ্ছিল না আপনার কাছে।
Why this problem?
I have no idea, sir. অনেকবার ট্রাই করার পর পরে লাস্টে মেল ডেলিভার্ড হয়েছে।
Okay, okay. Maybe you maybe check your mailbox limit, whether you exceeding near or nearly exceeding.
Okay.
Okay, I think should be okay. So same thing. This one also you need to write your student ID, your name, date of submission, and your section. Then you take picture. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
So let me give you attendance.